Good evening, everyone. Welcome to...
Well, we are CPAC, which stands for Civilian Police Accountability Council.
And it's all brought to you by the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, which was a grassroots organization started up around the time of the Free Angela Davis movement, thanks to Mr. Frank Chapman and Ted Pearson.
Absolutely.
And we are an organization focused on the unity, struggle, and organization of our people and our communities in Chicago against
police brutality.
I
mean, it's running reckless right now, and you know, it's like every day something happens, and it's like, what is the government doing?
Not just the government, but just the whole city in general.
Yeah, because I mean, it's really getting out of control, and it's like nobody's stepping up. But CPAC, we are stepping up, and we're out on the streets every day. We rally every day. We march every day. You know, we're trying to get everybody involved so that we can stop this, because it's wrong. I mean, there's been so many murders, and it's like no one's being held accountable for it. And you know, something that needs to be done. And that's why we're trying to get everybody involved so we can do something, because it's you know, my whole thing is you're killing unarmed people. You're killing, and let me be more specific, you're killing unarmed black people, okay? Now, I heard the other day that a young white man was murdered by the police, okay? How often does that happen? Not a lot, you know, not a lot, but it's like a daily, weekly, monthly thing that black people were just being murdered by the police. And, you know, it's heartbreaking.
Honestly, at this point, I feel like the media is covering it because this is like the hot topic of today's political atmosphere. It's just really tough out here. I just feel like there's a lot of murder going on the news, more than normal, more than what we're used to seeing, and that's more alarming than the fact that we're being gunned down in these numbers, because we have to remember that this has been going on for a very long time. It's just now being publicized and documented the way it is.
I mean, with social media now, and you know, we have our phones, instant messages, direct messages, so it's like everything now, it's like boom, 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 and you hear it, and you hear it, and you hear it.
It looks like we have.
And the problem is that it's happening too often.
And it looks like we have a caller.
Yes, I wanted to make a point, if I might. I think you raised an extremely important issue with regard to discussing police brutality, not just in the city of Chicago, but nationwide. At the same time, I would like to correct something that you said earlier. The notion that somehow police brutality and the murder of persons in this country is somehow limited to African Americans. In fact, twice as many Caucasians are killed every year by police as compared to African Americans. That's year after year after year, going back 20 years. Now, it is certainly the case that African Americans represent a smaller percentage of the population.
That's exactly what I was going. That's exactly what I was going to point out to you, and I'm glad you brought that up, because if you look at, let's talk about something different for a second. You know, the stereotype is that most black people receive government assistance, but if you look at the records and the statistics, and statistics don't lie, there are more white people that receive government assistance. So we do have to look at the disparity between the numbers, okay? In this country, there are way more white people than black people. But if you look at it, every day we're hearing another black male being murdered by the police. I'm not saying that the police don't murder white people, but if you look at the news, read the newspapers, it's right there in front of you. So it's definitely a problem.
Also looks like we have another caller on the line.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Young lady. I wanted to know about these cameras and stuff. You never see any gangbangers with cameras shooting each other because it's done so much. But as soon as a policeman, I don't care what color he is, shoots somebody, and if he's wrong, he should be put in jail. But let's start here in Chicago. March at night, not in the daytime, when everybody wants to march. March at night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
They wake up
and stop all that shooting. Then maybe things would be a lot better in Chicago. Thank you.
I definitely agree with that point. I was, you know, how you're just in the house and your brain is just thinking of what you can do. So yeah, that was actually one of my thoughts. Just we need to get up in the middle of the night, get some marching throughout our neighborhoods and say, I can't get no sleep, no justice, no peace, you know, come up with some type of creative chant. I don't know how effective that would be in the long run, but I do believe that is another measure that should be taken, considering like the severity of these killings, all this murder. I really have no words for what's going on today. Everything's just so inexcusable. We have professionals that are supposed to be protecting our communities that do not.
Exactly.
And we have another caller. Do we have another caller?
Yes, I just wanted to add something, if I might. And you raised the point earlier with regard to stories that we see in the mass media. And that's exactly what they are. They are stories. They are not social science. The fact that mass media chooses to ignore the shootings of persons who are not African American doesn't mean that persons who are not African American don't get shot. It just means that when a white person gets shot by police erroneously for one reason or another, the media are not covering it. So simply because we have stories about a disproportionate number of African Americans being shot does not negate the fact that there are a lot of white people who are being shot by police. And the point being that police brutality is a problem that's systemic across this nation, can affect anyone. It is more likely to affect African Americans, but we can at no time, which is something that again I pointed out at the beginning, contend that somehow this is only happening to African Americans, when in fact again it happens twice as much to white people.
Okay, you raised a good point, and like I said, if you look at the numbers, there are more white people that live in this country, so you know, but if you look at it in regards to
I think what he's getting at is
the percentage of black people that live here and the percentage of white people that live here, it's higher.
So I think he means like overall because there is a larger number of Caucasians that live in the United States, then that number will automatically be higher. But because there are such concentrated areas of minorities within these pockets in the cities, their numbers shouldn't be higher than like that. Like, I don't know, the way the data is twisted, it just shouldn't read that way. If we are going with the fact that more Caucasians are being gunned down by the police, the real issue is that the police should not be gunning people down. That is not a part of their job description, and if it is, we should be very afraid and we should be finding other ways to organize. And this is why we are here to discuss CPAC. One of the ways that we're, how can I describe this? CPAC stands for the Civilian Police Accountability Council. And
making police more accountable
for their actions, any human rights violations
because they're supposed to serve and protect. And if, you know, like I said,
this ordinance is being pushed so that we'll be able to work with the aldermen throughout each community, and so that we can use the aldermen to back the people's voices, so that we can push this ordinance through to the mayor. And we would have to start locally, which is why we're here today, presenting CPAC to you all.
Very good point. Very good point.
And this is an overview of what the ordinance represents of what we stand for, what we're fighting for. So just to read it off the prompt. The all-civilian elected council is made up of Chicago community members from each police district and will replace the current system of police impunity, which is systems such as IPRA, systems that are trying to be implemented by some city aldermen, such as Citizens Monitor and Fair Cops, which are all just being backed by the mayor and will only do the same thing IPRA has done for the past decade, which is nothing. So CPAC is ran by the people. It's for the people. That's the whole point of this. And we would need a collective that is concrete, that has a language of its own, that has a culture of its own. And we would need to like grow that and cultivate that throughout the next couple of years, which is really, I guess, detrimental now in this time.
Absolutely. I mean, right now we're under siege. And just to respond to a few of the callers in regards to the white people being gunned down by the police, when do you hear those stories? I don't hear them.
Why aren't they as public? Yeah, that's a question I would like to pose with you.
Let me finish my point, if you don't mind. I just want to respond to the callers, and I appreciate everybody calling in because we have to discuss this because it's your sons, it's your cousins, it's your grandsons who are being murdered. So let's not get things twisted. How many times do we actually hear of a white person, or let's not say a white person, a white youth, okay, being gunned down by the police? I don't hear those stories, okay? And just to make another point, look at the prison system. Let's look at the prison system.
The numbers for
the numbers are off the chains compared to black versus white. In the local jails, also in the prisons. Okay, so let's not get it twisted. Let's stick to the point, and we hear it every day, and it's a shame, and something just needs to be done. And I'm upset. I'm a dad of 3 children, 1 son and 2 daughters. So I'm definitely, want everybody to say, hey, let's do something here.
And to our next caller.
Yes, I just wanted to add this with regard to this question about disproportional crime and incarceration rates. We know from data, and it doesn't take a PhD in criminology to realize that crime is not equally distributed in this country. We know that older people don't commit as much crime as younger people.
Of course.
We know women don't commit as much crime as men.
Course.
And so there is a difference between groups. For instance, African American males, 15 to 24, are 1.2% of the population. They'll commit over 25% of the homicides in America in any given year.
Okay.
So the idea that why one particular group is more likely to be incarcerated, part of that is a function of the amount of crime that one group commits versus other groups. Among the least incarcerated and least criminal groups in America are not white people, they're Asian people. So is there some conspiracy to cover up Asian crime? No, there's very low Asian crime, there's very low Asian criminality, there's very low Asian population in our criminal justice system because they don't tend to commit a lot of crime.
Okay, good point.
And I feel like the connection.
Would you like to respond to that?
I just feel like the connection between that has a lot to do with the economic disparities, like between those racial groups.
Of course.
That's why I just feel like those numbers would be attributed to.
And that's an excellent point because people need to realize that if we had the kind of resources that were dedicated to improving the African American educational systems, in investing in African American institutions, that young men would not turn to gangs. They wouldn't turn to crime. They wouldn't sell drugs.
They want to work.
Because they have other opportunities. And of course, then that would reduce crime. But the realization is that a police officer and a prosecutor and a judge can't resolve those issues. That's a societal issue that we have to resolve. When someone shoots another individual, it's not up to a police officer to go over and ask the individual, oh, did you have a tough life? You didn't have the opportunities that other people, so I'm not going to arrest you because you just shot somebody, because you didn't have the opportunities. And no, at that point, we've already lost the battle. We can't blame the police and we can't blame the criminal justice system because society has failed these young people. We need to start asking people to invest in these young people at a very early age so that they don't end up in the criminal justice system.
I completely agree with that.
Very good point.
And this is why I believe that the introduction of CPAC will begin to get the parents involved, the target audience that we are trying to communicate with. We need the parents to be involved more politically, to educate their children on these things at earlier ages. We can only do so much as people outside of the home, as people trying to be there for each other outside of the home.
And also too, you have to look at, that's a very good point the gentleman just made. And if you want to go even further back, where are we going? The African Americans in this country have always been in despair, okay, by the systematic organization of the United States. So, so why are we incarcerated? Is it systematic? Okay, is it systematic? Or are we just people that like to commit crimes? Okay, so you have to look at a lot of things other than just saying that, we commit the most crimes, or, there's a great disparity in the United States, okay, based on color. And if you look at the murders by the police department, okay, of unarmed people, okay, why is this going on? Why is this happening like every week?
Population control.
From New York, Chicago, Cleveland. It's like rampant. It's like, let's go shoot a black person, and that's wrong, and something needs to be done. And that's why we're here tonight, to talk to everyone about it, to get your opinions and to see how you feel about it, because it's happening too much. You cannot deny that this is just totally wrong. Laquan McDonald was shot, what, 15 times?
16. There's
16
a whole
times?
song on it.
Come on.
My question to the callers is, do you believe that the implementation of another council such as CPAC, the Civilian Police Accountability Council, will have a positive effect long-term on our communities? That's one question I pose to you all listening.
It should, because, we're trying to do something positive. And we have another caller?
Yes, I called earlier. Listen, when that 9-year-old boy was shot in the back, assassin style, who went to go get him? The police. Who did the police ask? What I can understand is there's never witnesses. I don't care what time of day it is, there's never witnesses to a shooting. And I was going to say, when the police go in there and have to rescue somebody because they're getting beat up or they're shot, or you never hear nothing good about them.
So what is the point that you're trying to make? What is the point you're trying to make?
I'm trying to say the police did good things also, and I haven't heard one good thing from either one of you about the police yet. They go in there dangerously in neighborhoods and rescue people.
And they're also murdering. They're also murdering, sir. They're also murdering young black youth.
You know what I'll say? I'll say this. Next time you get in trouble, call a gangbanger. Maybe it'll help you.
Okay, sir, I do believe that I don't believe like the police, their role should just be eradicated from the community. I just believe that if the majority of the stories being covered are about these violent officers, just completely violent, because I don't know, does he take the gun home and do the same thing with his children? Like,
it's out of control.
Right,
the specific talk really today is about police brutality. There's a lot of other problems.
We'll get to black on black crime in a minute, because you want to hear about it, right?
We face. We face a lot as black people living in America. Okay, there are some who have become very successful, and I applaud you for that. But the masses are not. And they're being brutalized, and they are American citizens, and that's just wrong. And I'm just very upset about it. So that's why I'm with the Alliance, and that's why I march, and that's why I protest, because this is just wrong, because they're just murdering innocent people. And that's just, no matter what color you are, but it just happens to be a lot of black people. So I'm just so upset. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm a passionate person. I'm sorry, but it's just wrong is wrong, no matter what color it is. Let me just clarify that.
I guess it's some positive points about the police in just a second. Next caller.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Actually, in response to your question on, well, why is all this crime occurring? Are black people naturally, do they naturally gravitate towards crime? I've got, some information from several studies that can help illuminate this situation.
Lay it on us.
Okay, first of all, when you have substandard housing, substandard economic opportunity, substandard school, the people that are in that environment will have an overrepresentation in the criminal crime statistics, because the people that are locked out of opportunities seek to make their way in underground economies. Now, there was a study done in Venezuela, there was a study done in Brazil, so no, black people are not predisposed to crime, but because we are mired in a great poverty, we are mired in an impoverished situation with great levels of poverty. So our overrepresentation in the crime and the violence here in Chicago is as a direct result of that. If we could migrate more or large groups of people into the mainstream where they have economic opportunity, if we had better housing, better schools, then there would be a direct correlation to the number of people that we have committing crime or in the criminal justice system. So, as you stated yourself, sir, there are many African Americans that are doing well, and they're not, involved in crime and violence, but because they've had opportunities, they were able to migrate into the mainstream and take advantage of those. That's our problem here in Chicago. And my final comment, I'll be real brief.
I appreciate that.
Put it this way, in Chicago, it's only about 6 or 7 areas where all this crime is occurring, but it's been the same 6 or 7 areas for 40 years, okay? So are you going to tell me that in 30 years they can't stop it?
In 30 years, we probably haven't had stable housing. That's number one, honestly. They've been working on that since 2005 and still haven't gotten it down. That's one of the problems.
And I just really want to say, I mean, the black problem is wide. You know what I mean? So we're here tonight to talk about police brutality, not why black people are committing crimes, why there are more black people, that are disenfranchised. We're here to talk about police crimes, the people who are supposed to serve and protect.
And how to stop
That is what we're talking about tonight. Of course, we got a lot to talk about as black people. Okay? I mean, we got a lot to talk. We got to talk about black on black crime, but we're here to talk about police brutality because these are the people who are supposed to protect and serve, and they're not doing that. Now, I have a problem with the police killing unarmed people. Children, not even people who are adults.
Just children.
And they're unarmed.
Yeah.
Now I can see, if I was a cop, let's be real, if I was a cop and I see you and you've got a gun pointed at me, of course, I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to take you out. I'm going to have to take you out.
Self-defense is one thing.
Laquan McDonald did not have that. Why did you shoot this young man?
No. The news covers him as a child. 16.
Oh, I'll stand corrected. 16 times. I mean, Wake up,
It's
black.
senseless.
All I gotta say is wake up, black people. I mean, we have a lot of issues and we gotta solve a lot of problems, and but I'm just talking about police, the people who are supposed to serve and protect. That's just like, why do you think black people don't trust the police? I mean, this is why. Right? I mean, why would a young person trust the police, and they're seeing every day young black people being murdered by the police?
Okay.
How are you going to trust that?
And here's what
now,
we
you're
get
younger
into the
than I am,
positive
young
aspects,
lady.
right?
So
here's where I can take you into a little yellow brick road in this situation, I guess.
I appreciate that.
So I personally have never had a negative experience with the police. So I really have nothing negative to report about them personally. But I understand how police brutality is like this much of the iceberg that we're trying to cover. At the same time, like you're saying, it's not their job.
Well, let me ask you a question now.
Why would we want to trust them?
From what you've seen, I want to ask you a personal question.
Okay.
From what you've seen, okay, you have not had any experience, negative experience with the police. But from what you've seen, how do you feel about the police?
So, from what I've seen,
and what's going on with all of these murders? I feel the way
they feel how some white people feel around blacks. Nervous. Just a little nervous, anxious. I don't know what you're going to do next.
You shouldn't feel that way,
and
right?
I should not, because it's your. I should see you and think protection.
Serve and protect.
I should not see you and think maybe. That's
happen.
Right. That's my whole thing. But to wrap up here, please take a visit to our website to get more information on what we're doing in our communities to stop police crimes and how you can get involved. We have weekly meetings Monday nights at 1325 South Wabash Avenue, 60605 zip code. Please come join us. You can come share all of your information there that you have, any facts, any stories, positive or negative. It is a space where we can express these kinds of issues, because that's not everywhere. This is not vocalized like it should be. This side of the story is not vocalized as it should be. We see the police throwing footballs around with children, but I did not see that until they began shooting them down in numbers that I never thought would. I'm too young for this. I'm too young for this.
You are. You're too young and beautiful for this. And you know what? And young kids, I mean, they were talking about young kids. I'm talking about like 5 and 6. They didn't trust the police. I mean, that's crazy. When you see the cops, you're supposed to be like, oh, okay.
You shouldn't have to teach
I'm okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's like,
I don't even know.
Should I go hide? I mean.
Should I go hide? That shouldn't even be it. Thank you all for watching, and we appreciate everyone's call-ins, feedbacks, everything.
Thanks for all the comments.
Please have a wonderful night.
Yes.